Last time we established that Hafez Assad and his allied minority took control of Syria, total control, in 1971, and they used the Ba'ath Party as their vehicle. The reality was, if you wanted to have any kind of influence whatsoever, you had to be a member of that party, or you would be marginalized. And they wiped out all opposition of any kind. Total party control. But in the process, it became pretty obvious that pan-Arab nationalism was no longer viable in Syria. Socialism, Arab socialism, wasn't either. So Syria was ripe for what would be the precursor to ISIS. And that is the Sunni majority in the country who felt marginalized, and they were, by this regime. And relatively soon, the Muslim Brotherhood began to infiltrate Syria and develop support within the Sunni population. And by 1979, they began to use that base to launch attacks, violent attacks against the regime. It's interesting. They had no interest in trying civil disobedience whatsoever. They believed that the only way to power was through violence. And they believed that Islam was the answer to solving all of Syria's problems. Pan-Arab nationalism had not worked. Socialism had not worked. The Ba'ath Party had proven bankrupt. They were being ruled by really crony capitalism through Hafez Assad. So they struck and began to attack elements of the regime. Assad could see that civil war was on the horizon. And when Brotherhood forces ambushed some of his forces in Hama, H-A-M-A, in 1982, he essentially said, enough is enough. He ordered his forces to decimate Hama. With estimated casualties running anywhere from 10,000 to 25,000. I doubt that we'll ever know for sure how many were slaughtered. After that, the Muslim Brotherhood made no further attempts to take and to do anything against Hafez Assad. As long as Hafez Assad was in power, the Sunni Muslim Brotherhood simply went underground as deep as they could. But he dies in the year 2000, and his son, Bashar, took over. Bashar was not originally groomed for this job. He was not trained for running the country. So at first, he's going to attempt some modest economic reforms to diversify the economy so they wouldn't have to be so dependent on oil, and allow a little bit of political expression. Well, we know from history that when a total dictatorship begins to loosen its control even a little bit, it's going to be vulnerable, and that's what's going to happen.